Sometimes job seekers are their own worst enemies. They do everything right, and then when they are within inches of nailing that job, they then open their mouth and say something that makes that potential job offer go up in smoke. The really sad part of this story is that these mistakes are usually easy to avoid. The job seeker often doesn't realize what they did. They just know they didn't get the offer. Make sure you stick around until the end when we share the one mistake you can easily rectify, and it could mean the difference between you getting that job offer and you hearing dead silence. So let's dive right in. Stupid mistake number one, not rereading the job description right before you go in. Ideally, you want to do this right before the interview, maybe while you're sitting waiting for the interviewer or before you get out of the car to go into the building. If it's a Zoom interview, which many first interviews are today, read it right before you hit that Zoom link to join the meeting. Why, you may ask, is this so important? Because you want to remember what they are looking for and use that information to frame your responses where appropriate. For example, if the job description says they are looking for someone to overhaul their master vendor practices, you manage the master vendor file at your previous position, you would want to mention that. Without reviewing the job description, you may not have thought to mention something that you did 5 or more years ago, something that really could give you a leg up on the competition. Stupid mistake number 2, asking stupid questions that reveal too much. Asking questions during and at the end of the interview is a very good thing, but you want to do so judiciously. Let me give you an example of how this can go very wrong. A number of years ago, I was interviewing for a staff position. We were coming to the close of the interview, and I asked the interviewee if she had any questions for me. This, by the way, is your opportunity to shine, as well as to clarify anything you may have questions about, except something that you might make it look like you either don't have the knowledge or experience that you claim to have, or would make you look like a slacker. In this case, it was the latter. The person being interviewed said she had only one question. What was it, I asked. How many sick days do we get, she asked. My first response, which miraculously I managed to suppress, was to say none, because if that is your primary concern, we're not going to be hiring you. Now, if you're wondering how you would find out this information if you don't ask, let me give you an alternative, none of which should be done at the first interview. When they make you the offer, they should give you some documents which explain the benefits. That'll give you the information. If they don't, you could ask about the vacation policy and other time off, but only after they've decided you are the one, not before they've come to that decision. Stupid mistake number 3, not having questions prepared to ask at the end. These are more important than you might imagine. They demonstrate an interest in the position and the company, intelligence and insight, unless they're inappropriate and revealing, as we've already discussed, and give the interviewer a chance to talk about the company, the position, and their plans for the future. It is also your time to get an explanation about anything that is not clear to you or that has not been addressed during the interview, except as we've discussed. So prepare a number of questions in advance, for it is possible that some of the questions you're planning to ask will have already been addressed. Also, by having these questions prepared ahead of time, you won't find yourself floundering trying to come up with something to say. Once you have these prepared, you can use them over and over again. Check our library of over 500 videos, because we're working on another talk that will provide you with some thoughtful questions you can ask at the end of any interview. You'll see a link to this at the end when we've got it finished, but if you're watching this when we first release it, it won't be there, so check back. Now, before I get to the next mistake, which I know aggravates the living daylights out of some managers, if you're finding this informative, I greatly appreciate it if you could hit that thumbs up or like button. It sends a message to YouTube and the podcasters and to us that the content has value and it should be shared and more like it created. So a big thank you from me to you if you've hit that like button. Stupid mistake number 4. Mispronouncing or misspelling someone's name. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Having spent my entire life with names people either couldn't pronounce or spell properly, I'm not offended by this, but I know some people are wildly put off if the candidate gets their name wrong. I worked with one perfectly nice man who shared that if someone spelled his name wrong, he threw their resume in the garbage. His name was very close to the spelling of another popular name, and I guess he was tired of people getting it wrong. I was horrified. So I asked him about it, and he said, if they can't get something as simple as spelling my name right, what else are they going to get wrong? Yikes. But I've warned you. And let me tell you, otherwise he was a really nice guy. Stupid mistake number 5. Bad-mouthing current or former employers and or bosses, no matter how much they deserve to be called out. Put yourself in the interviewer's shoes. They don't know what happened. They don't know how vindictive that narcissistic boss was, how he perceived offense at every turn in the road. Nor do they know how miserly the company was, demanding unreasonable hours without compensation from all employees, and worse. All they hear is what you're saying, and they think, this is how this person, you, will talk about us. So long before you go on the interview, if you've had one of these untenable situations, and most of us have, think how you're going to explain it in terms that won't reflect poorly on you. This might mean saying something like you're looking for a new job because you're looking to grow and there are limited promotional opportunities in your existing organization as turnover is low. You don't want to say, because I've got to get away from that awful boss. Practice saying it a few times so you don't choke the first time you try and utter these words in public. Stupid mistake number 6. Revealing anything that would expose that you don't have long-term plans for working with the organization. Virtually all employers go into the interview process with the idea that whoever they hire will be with the company for a long time. Too much honesty or information can come back to haunt you. Let me give you an example, or a few examples, of what not to do. Let's say your spouse is in medical school, and when they finish up in 2 years, they hope to find a job in another state, and you are planning on going with them. There's no reason to divulge this. It could also be that you want to retire soon, or you want to start a business, or you yourself are planning on returning to school. Sharing this information will result in the organization in question not sharing a job offer with you, because after all, they want everyone to love the company just like they do. Stupid mistake number 7. Not taking a few minutes the night before the interview to prepare. We're not talking about that last-minute read of the job description we discussed earlier, but spending 15 minutes to make sure all your ducks are in a row and you have some information about the organization you're interviewing with. This investment of a very small amount of time can be the best investment in your career and your job search. We think this 15 minutes is so important, we did a separate talk on it, spelling out exactly what you should do and how to do this preparation. You should watch it right now using the link that is on your YouTube screen if you're watching on YouTube and is in the description. Good luck.